Let me hit the record button. Okay, welcome everyone. For our agenda today, we're going to start with introductions, and if you have any organizational updates to share. And then we'll move into our guest presenter. We have a representative from the National Business and Industry Sector Work Group, Dr. Elizabeth. I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce your name, so correct me, but is it Abla? Okay, great. And then we have a couple new members, so we're going to have them introduce themselves and share some of what they do in their workplace setting. And then we'll review our strategy cards that we've been working on. Now that we've finished our strategy and tactics, we have the cards, so we're just going to show those with you and then continue our discussion from the last meeting about our implementation project ideas. So I guess I'll go first. My name is Natalie Updike. I work at Children's Mercy Hospital in the Center for Children's Healthy Lifestyles and Nutrition, and I support the business industry sector of our Kansas City physical activity plan. And then we'll have our sector co-leads introduce themselves next.
I'm Tanya Williams. I'm with Garmin. Been here for about 2 years and oversee and lead the Wellbeing and Fitness program.
And I am Missy Barnett. I am the co-lead of the business and industry sector, and I work for Corporate Fitness Works, who manage on-site fitness facilities for corporations. Chad, I'll pass it to you.
All right, I can go. Chad Tower, the Executive Director of the Kansas City Corporate Challenge.
I'll go. Lori Schiffer, Senior Account Manager with Corporate Fitness Works.
I can go next. I'm Robin Shook. I'm an Associate Professor at Children's Mercy and the Director of the Kansas City HLC. Janine, do you want to go next?
Sure. I'm Janine. I'm with the Fountain of Health, the City of Kansas City, Missouri Employee Wellness Program.
Yeah, Bill, maybe I see maybe you might be driving, but if you're free. Oh, you're golfing, even better.
I'm at the First Tee event, everyone. Sorry, it's Bill Brandmeier with the Shareways Foundation, supporting First Tee today, but I'm here listening while we try to score a birdie. So I'll just be listening. Thank you. Excited to be here.
You got a lot of good practice last night at your Top Golf event, so I'm sure you're hitting it far.
My body is sore and I can barely move, but I got good teammates.
Great.
Kelly, do you want to go introduce yourself?
Okay. Hi, everyone. I work with Robin and Natalie at Children's Mercy and the Kansas City Healthy Lifestyles Collaborative. I support the school sector and the early childhood sector.
Okay, I think we got everyone. To be conscientious of our presenter's time, I think we'll move right into her presentation. I think you should be able to share your screen.
All righty, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, terrific. And are you able to see my slides?
Yes.
Oh, yay, this is a win. Okay, so I'm Elizabeth Abla. I'm a professor at the University of Kansas School of Medicine in Wichita, so we are neighbors. Very glad to be able to join you today. Thank you to Robin for the invitation and very happy to be able to present. I am a co-chair for the business and industry sector for the National Physical Activity Plan and for PAPRIN, and I'll talk about some of these things. just to get you sort of oriented, Physical Activity Alliance, you go on the website, you'll see the business industry. If you click on read more, you'll see the various strategies. I think it's page 19 specific to business and industry. But I imagine you're probably pretty familiar with this. Is that accurate? Is that an accurate assumption? Okay, very good. Okay, so a National Physical Activity Plan, really our work around this is going to be launched here really soon. Our current role nationally, we are reviewing strategies. We're trying to go through all of the materials and determine what has been done. Is there anything that is still needed that needs to be done? And if so, what is it? So that we can start articulating that and include that in the next iteration of the plan. This is something that is going to take some time and a lot of conversation, as you all, I'm sure, understand very well. If you go to the Physical Activity Assessment at Work, you'll see our website has information about PAPRN, which is the Physical Activity Policy and Research and Evaluation Network. We've developed a couple of materials just relatively recently that are for employers thinking about how we measure physical activity. We have seen, as you, I'm sure, are very cognizant of, a lot of variability in how physical activity is measured, and we're trying to use a standardized measure. So we have a little bit of information about the importance of using a standardized measure, and then also what are various measures that can be used. If you go over to the PAPRN Worksite Wellness Group, there's really not very much. I was very disappointed to see that it's a random picture of a few bicycles. But you'll see that we have meetings, and I invite anyone who is interested in being involved. We'd love to have you. I'm happy to if you want to just pop in and listen in, you're welcome to, but even more so, I would love to have you join us. You can shoot me an email. My information is at the end of this. But I'm seeing, oh, terrific. Thank you, Natalie. That's very kind. Thanks. So some additional projects that we have going that I'm not sure how much you're interested in any of these things. I don't know why it is not moving, but it is not happy. There we go. So one of the projects that we have going on, we're creating a quote unquote toolkit. What that actually looks like, I hope, is not going to be a large toolkit. We're wanting it to be rather spelt, sort of concise set of a bit of guidance for work sites to be thinking about how they can promote physical activity in their work environment. And that we are currently looking for some best practice examples. We would love to have any that might be something you'd be willing to share. I think we've played around with both working to provide de-identified and also identified to make the process go a little bit faster for some work sites. There are a lot of approval processes that folks have to go through. And so we're really wanting to make this into a toolkit that is user-friendly, that it allows for folks to who don't have any budget, all the way to people who have a massive budget, that of strategies that how they can be implementing physical activity into their work site. So we've seen lots of the sort of the small, medium, large differentiations, and I'm very pleased that we are going with the cost, because even if you are large and you don't have money for it, that really is the delineating factor. So I would love to receive any sort of examples from any of your organizations if you're interested. Second, we are working on a paper on connecting physical activity assessment, prescription, and referral to what is happening, in healthcare, to business and industry sector. And this is something that we have been seeing is that sort of collaboration. So I'm pleased to hear there aren't just business and industry folks on. That's great to have that intersection of various disciplines working together on some of these things. We're also working on a paper on culture of healthy living at the workplace. This is probably going to be more centered around cardiovascular health and looking at what are strategies, what can be done there. And then finally, we're working on a paper around the GLP-1s and physical activity. There's a lot less that has been done around physical activity, and this is going to be sort of just a review, big picture, what's known and what's not known, what needs to be done in the field. That is really all I have for you. I would love to hear from you. I'd love to know what questions you have, what concerns you have, what thoughts you have. And if anybody would be interested in being involved, we'd love to have you.
I'll just say, Dr. Abla, thanks first of all for coming and talking with our group. We really appreciate it. It's something that I don't think we do enough of, is connect back to the larger national physical activity plan and what the national sectors are doing. So I really appreciate you coming and talk with us, and people on the Zoom here. They're the boots on the ground. So this is very real. So I'm sure they have lots of questions.
I've got a question. I wonder if you could just share a little bit more about the healthcare. So are you using employer-based models then to reach to patients? Is that that?
It's a fantastic question. I really appreciate it. And I think what we're, with that paper, we're really wanting to explore what are strategies and how can we do this? Because there is very little that is being done around prescription, physical activity prescriptions. We just did a small study in Kansas of family practice docs, and asked them, do you prescribe physical activity to your patients? And they all said, oh, yeah. And then we asked for the information of how many of your patients, how frequently are you doing? What are you doing? And the clear, I want to say, of the people who said yes, that they do prescribe, it's through conversation. They're just saying you need to be physically active, which works so well. So I think that's there's a lot that needs to be done in that field to explore how it can be effective, and what strategies have been learned in the healthcare the healthcare sector that the worksite sector can start thinking about and implementing in combination with.
Yeah, I would love to chat more. And I think specifically, so my position is with the city of Kansas City, their employee wellness, but I work for St. Luke's, which is a healthcare system. And I beat my head against the wall every day trying to find a way to, I know that when patients come into, some of them are city employees, come into St. Luke's, that information is in their electronic medical record, who their employer is, but finding a way for St. Luke's to recognize the city and the city to, we have overlapping folks here, and there's a way to, but yes, so.
Bring it on. I'm putting my email address in the chat, and please feel free, anybody, to reach out. That would be wonderful. Thank you so much.
And you mentioned the opportunity for folks to join the meetings individually, one-off. Would you be able to share that information of the next upcoming meeting or two with Natalie or in the chat box, so that those that couldn't attend today or that are interested at a later point can get registered for that?
You betcha. The next one is November 1st at noon Central. I would appreciate having some other Central people present.
That was going to be my next question is what regions, are there certain regions that you're looking to have more involvement in?
No, anybody who wants to be involved, we want people to be involved. So yeah, we are probably, gosh, I can't tell you. We're all across the United States.
Okay.
So from Oregon and Washington to the other Washington. So yeah, it'd be nice to have some more people represent Central. So, but yes, if you send me an email, I'm happy to forward the next email. Good night. I am multitasking in ways that should not happen. I am happy to forward the next appointment to you. Anybody who's interested, just please let me know. We'd love to have you.
Perfect. Thank you.
And if this doesn't work out this time, but you'd like to be involved later, no problem. I'll continue sending. We would love to have anybody who's interested in participating.
I will say I'm very excited to see the GLP-1s on there, as that's a huge hot topic, especially in the benefits world currently. So yeah, excited to see what you guys come up with there for sure.
Yeah, there's some really interesting literature. I'm sorry, please go ahead.
I said I think it'll be a huge help for multiple businesses to see what comes about that, because there's no education behind it, obviously, currently. And so, yeah, I think that will help a lot of people.
Terrific. I'm glad. And if there's something in particular that you'd like to see, I would love to know about it.
Okay.
One thing I wonder, I think that this group is, a relatively new group, but they're trying to figure out maybe what they can do for some implementation projects going forward. We make available $15,000 to the sector to get started on some things. And so I don't know if you have any specific recommendations there. I will say, and there's a couple people representing this on the call today, the Kansas City Corporate Challenge is like one of the most amazing programs I've ever seen. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but maybe someone can maybe explain what that is. And there might be maybe some opportunities within that already great program to kind of to link with some more specific implementation projects. I don't know if, are you familiar with the Corporate Challenge, or maybe someone want to give an overview?
Yeah, Chad, do you want to talk about it a little bit?
I can. So Kansas City Corporate Challenge, it's 2025 will be our 46th year. So we're the oldest and largest corporate Olympics in the country. So at our peakest, before COVID happened, 2019, I do believe we were at 225 companies and about 30,000 participants. Last year we had about 170 companies, 21,000 or so people signed a waiver to participate. We have 32 events. We promote health and wellness, camaraderie, teamwork, you name it, we try to promote it. We offer everything from really strenuous half marathons to pool and darts. Pickleball is popular, cornhole, a little bit of everything. So our whole goal is that companies sign up and hopefully maximize and have everybody in their company sign up and try to get moving, whether it's just a little bit or a lot, and then compete in whatever they feel comfortable in competing. We know that there's a core group from each company that will do a lot of things, and a lot of the other folks on this call today probably could speak a little bit too about, as company wise, what they do to try to get their people. I know Janine can talk about KC Mo. They offer points and things through their wellness program. Correct me if I'm wrong, about just coming in, being a cheerleader and cheering on coworkers, as far as that teamwork and part of those things. We offer volunteering so people can come out and just do that. So we just want people to come out and, just participate. Everybody's got a little bit of a competitiveness in them, right? Some more than others, which we enjoy it all, but we just want people to get out, meet people, do something fun, get off the couch. And if they're doing that, then maybe their spouse or their kids are joining in and doing that as well. So it trickles down to more than just the employees that signed up.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Chad. That is fantastic. That is a phenomenal track record, and that it would be really big shoes for anybody to fill after that many successful iterations. That's really incredible. I think I don't know if anybody's heard of Workwell, Kansas, but that was something that we did from 2011 until just this last year, 2024, I think is going to be probably our last. And we had a number of topics, including physical activity. So we did workshops with more than 1,000 work sites across the state, and really wanted to explore what our strategies that can be implemented in tandem with one another that move toward a specific direction. So whether it is specifically addressing sedentary behavior or it's specifically addressing physical activity, and how do we do this in a way that's systematic so that we're not doing just programs and providing pamphlets. So I think having the infrastructure like you are offering is just a wonderful strategy to integrate into work sites across Kansas City. That's kudos to you. That's wonderful. In terms of your question, Robin, of activities, I don't know what kind of activities might be of interest, but if anybody's interested in writing, we have these various projects that generally people who are not academics are not just thrilled about that prospect. But if that's something that's of interest to you, we would love to have you. I think something that we're at a point with the Physical Activity with the Physical Activity Alliance, but for the national plan, I think we really would love some input as to where you think we are as a nation with respect to these various strategies and tactics. Excuse me. For the business and industry sector. And I would love to know your thoughts of sort of even a knee-jerk reaction of where you think we are nationally. Would it help if I put these up, the strategies? Or maybe
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah. Okay. What are we? We are this one.
And I know as we were talking through our own strategies and tactics for the greater Kansas City region, there were times that we were, discussing things that are going on nationwide that we could, either in some capacities you can do at a more local area and local impact, but others, especially with some of the research and some of that, it is more beneficial on that national level.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, I think I'm interested in your thoughts on the strategies, and I'd love to know if there's support that you need, if there would be something that the national group could do that would be helpful to your group.
As we're looking at implementing or supporting existing programs within the Kansas City region, what have you seen from, on the national side that would be very impactful at a more local level? Are there existing programs or things that you all have talked about in the past that you've tabled because it would be more impactful at a local level?
I would not say that we've tabled. I would say there are a few papers that we've written that are specifically to specific strategies that seem to be most impactful in business and industry. I think what has happened, honestly, is that I think that there are a lot of programs and there's a lot of sharing of information, and we all know that you can have all sorts of information about how important it is to be physically active, the harms of being physically inactive, the harms of sedentary behavior, right? We know we can do all sorts of things. It doesn't make that much of a difference if there isn't the space and place for it. Then it just doesn't happen. And if it's not prioritized within an organization, it's not going to happen. So I am a really big fan of policy systems and environmental strategies. So in business and industry language, that is more benefit design. It's more policy, and it's environmental shifts and what those strategies are. And I'm happy to share with anyone on here some of the resources that we have recommended that seem to be strategies that, regardless of where you are, and whether it's again, whether you have funding or not. I mean, I was really impressed with William Brandmeier's active meeting. I mean, this takes active meeting to a whole new level of being able to literally be on the golf course. It's really impressive. But like, what are those strategies that we can be implementing that it doesn't cost anything, but it is a culture shift that requires sometimes policy change. And policy seems really funny in that way, but it's little p policy. Because a lot of people would find that to be disrespectful if I'm standing up and moving around during a meeting looking like I'm restless. And instead, if there's a policy and there's a shared understanding that this is actually a behavior that is appropriate and in fact encouraged, terrific. That changes the game, right?
Yeah. Wonderful. Yeah, I am going to send you my email. That would be wonderful to get those resources.
You've got it.
Thank you.
Just out of curiosity, is a lot of the policy that you're speaking about, is it a lot of like financial incentives for employees to be active? What are some things like you mentioned, active meetings? Is that what it is? Or
yeah, absolutely. In fact, there's in our model for WorkWell Kansas, we built WorkWell Kansas off of what's in the academic literature in terms of best practices. And when it came down to it, we had incentives as part of a foundation, but that's really just to have that infrastructure built up. Once you have it, it really doesn't mean that much, because if people are doing the activity for a get, then that's really different. So the example that I often give is to think about if you are the organizer of something, you're at a work site and you are trying to get people to get engaged in being physically more active. What often people do is they share their enthusiasm with others and get people jazzed up and woo, you're right. Oh, hey, you know what? No one's shown up for my meeting. We need to do a walkathon, or we're going to do a walk of work, or whatever it's going to be. And no one, very few people have shown up. So I'm going to go to Tanya, and then I'm going to go to Natalie, right? I'm going to go to Robin. I'm going to try and get all these people to come. So instead of this being the walk at Acme Inc., this is now Elizabeth Ablaw's walk, right? Because you all are doing it as a favor to me. And quite frankly, you see it then as something that is an impediment to your work, that I'm stopping you from doing your work. If you think instead of what it might be like for some music to go off at a certain time every day at 10 and 2 or something along those lines, and it goes for 10 minutes, and everybody's encouraged to get up, move around, walk, not just walk to your person and then sit down, but walk around, whether it's outside or whatever it is, then that's an institutional change. Right? That is something where that's signaled from the institution. We value this. We want you to take breaks. We want you to be up and moving. And that's a really different feeling. And it's no longer Elizabeth Ablaw as that annoying person. Now it's Elizabeth might have been the person that made that policy happen. right? So usually when we talk about policy in these contexts, it's little p policy, but there are definitely big P policies when you're looking at active transportation, for instance, and what has to happen in a community to be able to allow for that, to facilitate that to happen, whether it's, zoning or whatnot. There are all sorts of bigger P policies, but yeah, definitely changing the work environment to encourage even a little P policy of allowing people to do walking meetings. If you're away from your desk in a lot of places, you're not working. And to allow for walking meetings when it's appropriate, obviously. If we're making lists, that's generally not a great time to note taking to do a walking meeting. But man, when you're doing a brainstorm, that's the best thing you can do for your brain. So kind of allowing for and thinking about what we as people need, how we benefit from activity, and how we can have that physical activity work for us in the work site. So yeah, it's along those lines, and yeah, I'm happy to share that with Missy and anyone else that some of those strategies. But yeah, gosh, if you're just always looking at programs, that's pretty low on the level of sustainability, and it's a one-time deal. Right. So how do you get it so that it changes what it looks like? So when I think about going to my work site, that I think this is a default. I am healthier because I work at my work site, right? I'm more physically active because I work at my work site. And that's the exact opposite of what most people say. Man, I was so much healthier before I started working here.
Is there any evidence to suggest difficulties in engaging populations that may not be at work full time? They may have that hybrid situation, or even a lot of the populations that I work with, they don't require any time on site. So nationally, are you seeing some difficulties in that segment of the employee population?
Most definitely. And in fact, this toolkit is going to be addressing that to some extent. It is absolutely a challenge, and it's an opportunity. And the biggest challenge is that we don't, as an employer, don't have any opportunity to control the employee's environment. And so what does that mean? How do we flex that so that we're able to have some modicum of opportunity to influence? And whether that's an environment where people have, standing or adjustable desks, or it has something to do with little p policies, check-ins where, a standard meeting, you stand up throughout the meeting, right? Like, or, stand up, sit down, whatnot. And so there are different strategies like that, but you are absolutely right. And the pandemic absolutely exacerbated that to the nth degree. We did a small study where we were interviewing different employers and hearing from folks across the country. Yeah, we don't really care about physical activity. We care about mental health. We are stressed out. We're burnt out. All of this. Now, can we alter that? Can we modify that? Of course, right? You use some of the physical activity strategies to address some of that stress. But yeah, you can't just do the base, right? You have to have that thorough, comprehensive set of interventions, because otherwise it's just not going to stick. Like, so I was just in a meeting, guy kept saying, we're not going to yoga our way out of this. Some of these big employer problems, yeah, we can't yoga out of it. And we have to have infrastructure changes, and we can do some things that will absolutely benefit and increase the amount of physical activity that employees are getting. So how long have you all been in existence? I know he said this is a relatively young group.
Yeah, so we began meeting as a sector in about a year ago, correct?
Okay.
Oh, yeah, we're right around our year anniversary.
Awesome. And
1 year
what sort of
anniversary.
projects are you working on?
So we're in the beginning stages of that.
Okay.
Sorry, Tanya, I'll let you.
No, yeah, I was just going to mention the same thing. We're in the very beginning stages. So about a year ago, Missy and I met, and that's when the initial process had just started. It took us a little bit to kind of get up and going and running with it. And now we're kind of on the back end of the strategies and stuff, but really starting to work on some implementation projects that we feel like might be kind of low hanging fruit, easier for us to access this year and knock off. And so we're kind of just working through that and what that looks like.
Can you give like an example of one of those?
So,
and I'll also just jump in and say they're being very modest. They have been incredibly busy the past year. They went through many meetings of strategic planning and prioritizing things and assessing the strengths and weaknesses. They did a phenomenal job of like getting to this point. So I don't know if you want to tie that into what she was asking about, what you found as you kind of thought about where your organizations were at, or
yeah, so a little bit about that. We have definitely, as we've been working with this group, worked on targeting different areas of impact within the business and industry groups and pulled together a team to dive into strategies and tactics. From there, we did look at the national plan to get a kind of a step up, and then went through the strategies and tactics and really zeroed in on customizing them to this region, to the needs that we see in the business and the industry in this region. We added some things, we adjusted some others, and we went through them very strategically and with discussion on each and every strategy and tactic. And then where we're at now is we have finalized those and we are moving into those next stages, really beginning brainstorming projects and implementation opportunities, looking at opportunities for partnership with existing sectors to get that, first leg through the door. And just, really excited to move into this next step of that action and that implementation side of it.
So at this point, do you have other sectors that are formalized under the physical activity plan for Kansas City?
Yeah, so correct me if I'm wrong, Robin. We are the last sector to organize, and so
Best for last.
Yeah. So there have been some that have been up and running for 10 years.
Well, they're the 10th. This is the 10th sector.
The 10th sector, sorry.
Awesome.
Yeah, we have the exact same sectors as the national plan, except instead of military preparedness, we have early childhood as its own specific sector.
Nice. That's outstanding.
And do you have the date that, this really all started in the Kansas City region?
2020. Yeah, we had our first
2020.
Yeah, we had our first meeting in November 2019 or December 2019, and then so just about 5 years actually.
That is awesome.
Yeah. 5 years in 10 sectors.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
Phenomenal. Truly.
So we're very open if you have any suggestions.
Great.
I have a question.
Yes,
Hi,
please.
Bill.
Hi, guys. Is that a Kansas Jayhawk I see in your background?
Absolutely. I work at the University of Kansas.
Oh, I love it. Well, Rock Chalk. I had Bill Self at our event last night and in his entire basketball team. Big fan. But no, my real question is engaging families and specifically targeting kids within the corporate world. And is there any evidence that shows that targeting families and kids brings along the parents or vice versa? If there's opportunities to engage with the entire family, it creates a stronger opportunity?
It's a great question. There is some research that's been done that if you target families, if you're inviting families in for specific events, that yes, it can be influential in getting obviously the rest of the family engaged. Again, the caution is if you are focusing only on programs, it's going to be short-lived. Now, am I saying don't do programs? Of course not. No, it's part of a multi-strategy initiative that needs to occur. Yeah, there definitely is a place for that. And that usually means it is off hours, which we know anyway, has really good evidence behind it in terms of leisure time physical activity, and engaging the family in that leisure time activity is a terrific opportunity. Absolutely, there's good research about that. But when we're looking at obviously during work hours, that tends to be a little bit harder to do.
What would you say is one of your current favorite initiatives that the business and industry sector has implemented as of yet?
That's a really fantastic question. We have not implemented. I don't know if you said have or have not implemented, but we in Kansas, especially like Wichita, where I'm in Wichita, we don't have skip stop elevators. I would love to see skip stop elevators. We don't have them anywhere in the Midwest that I know of. We don't have that size of building. We usually build out rather than up. So there are environmental changes that I would love to see. I would love to see more work being done on the design of creating active living work sites, so that it is integrated into the work of the building even. So, attractive stairwells and identifying strategies to bring in resources from the community into the work site, so that it is an ongoing sort of program. I love that kind of thing where you're really thinking about what you're wanting to accomplish with the space. That I think is just has so much potential. So I am most wooed by the environmental changes. Policy, I think, can be really I know it can be very powerful, but I often think about the analogy of our behavior is really different. Like if you're thinking about how you're behaving right now compared to how you would behave at a football game on a Friday night, you would be acting really, really differently. And there's no policy, nobody said, Lori, we really need you to be a lot more rowdy at this game tonight. Or, I need you to start yelling more frequently or stand up and cheer or whatever it might be. That's not happening. It's not a policy, it's the environment, and we adapt to our environments. And so there's something that is extremely powerful. If you walk into a room and there are no chairs, and it's a big room where you're all meeting, you're going to all think, well, this is super awkward. I don't understand what I'm supposed to be doing here, because usually we're invited to sit. And so we have to sort of start thinking about what can we do at an environmental level to prompt different behaviors and create that culture where, wow, this feels really weird. You talk about it and then you figure out, okay, what if we have some of those taller tables? And instead of having, everybody's sitting and we all have tables, can we think about standing and, changing things up? So it gets really attractive to me. I love when you get the environmental change and you get the policy change, the cultural change, you get some benefit design things in there and the program and the information. That to me is, you can't do a lot better, because then it's not like those the magazines where it says, you know, how can you be more physically active? And then the next article is how to spend more time off the couch. Or, you know, the dessert that is across the way of like how to be healthier. And then the next page is, you know, 1,400 calorie brownie. It's like, do you want a consistent message? Do you want to have that? And we don't provide those consistent messages to work sites frequently. We often have a lot of morality associated with physical activity, morality associated with what we eat, and that really changes the tune of how people feel about it. Rather than engaging in activity is something that can improve our productivity. It can change the way that we work and think, and we can be healthier. So absenteeism and presenteeism change.
I love that. That's a great point, especially around the environmental impact of designing for active living, creating well-lit stairwells, walking paths, and just, you know, creating that undertone of opportunities to have your employees engage in physical activity, creating that welcoming environment within those opportunities. That's a great point. Thank you.
Thank you.
Maybe I missed it, but one thing I don't think I've heard you say is anything about the CEO pledge. Is that still a thing? Is that something that I'm a little confused as to what's PAA stuff, what's NPAP stuff?
Yeah, I really appreciate that. I was going to bring it up with Chad because it's very much in line with that. It is still going, and I think everyone is confused about what goes where. But the CEO pledge is something that is a national initiative, and they were shooting for approval through the White House to be able to make this into something that could go with the White House sort of blessing. And for a number of reasons that did not go. However, we are going to be launching the CEO pledge with, I believe, this toolkit. So it will probably be early spring. So yeah, the CEO pledge is really just about, so part of the Work Well Kansas Foundation is having that POOBA buy-in. POOBA instead of CEO or whoever, because you know, a library, a city council, these are all work sites. So we want to be able to allow for that sort of, so they call it CEO. In Work Well Kansas, we call them the POOBA because it's whoever's the decision maker. It could be an administrator, it could be a librarian. But that CEO pledge is basically just the buy-in to indicate that the CEO buys into this. And that is, as you all probably know very well, is a really critical component of the success of any sort of intervention. If the POOBA is not bought in, it is not going to happen. It's not gonna be successful. Chad, I'm probably singing a song you've sung too many times.
Yes, no, I mean, that's exactly it. I mean, and we notice it, or I don't want to offend anybody that's here, Casey Mo, Children's Mercy and Garmin, but we see it that those CEOs are more active to smaller companies because there are more bought in. I get it. CEOs of big companies like those present here might be a little bit tougher to get them out to events and things like that. So we do see that to medium to lower companies that is a big buy-in. Obviously, you know, the entry fee to get everybody to be able to participate, but also out there cheering their people on a little bit more is a little more. So we try to find ways and things to, you know, reverse that with the bigger companies, like, because that's a big thing for them as well. So we're always trying to get them involved. So if they're involved, they're going to push it harder in their own company organization, which makes participation go up. And that's what we're all about, is trying to get as many different people to participate as possible.
Absolutely. And you're even looking at modeling, right? Yeah, please.
I will say, to their credit, both Paul Kapinski and Bob Page were at the outdoor event that I was at today, walking around the golf course. So
Good.
That's good.
And to Chad's point, oftentimes if, CEOs aren't and, that C-suite aren't necessarily able to participate in the events, we do see them out, cheering on their teams at the walk, helping, with the cookout portion of it or doing the walk. So there are a lot of multitude opportunities for engagement. And that's one thing that Kansas City Corporate Challenge does try to do, is make sure that all levels of fitness levels, as well as everyone in the company has that opportunity to engage.
Something that strikes me, just because we had our Open Streets event yesterday in Wichita. Open Streets, I think we're, maybe 7 or 8 years now with Open Streets. We block off about 5 miles of a main area in Wichita, in the center of Wichita. And it's blocked off from pretty much every intersection, so that folks are able to walk, bike, roll, stroll, whatever it is. And we did a study several years ago on business and industry along that area, because it's a main street. It's Douglas, for those of you who know Wichita at all. And it includes the downtown area and Old Town and all these different parts of the community, College Hill. And we wanted to determine if it was good for business. And it actually is really good for business. It's on a Sunday. And that is one of the things, if you get some juice from having programmatic type, or events, and that could be something to consider, and have the businesses. Basically, we have businesses all across the city, but especially the businesses that are right there, where they sell things, and they are able to promote their business in ways that are fun and maybe non-traditional, like face painting. Why in the world would a HVAC company do face painting? They love it, right? So, there are opportunities to engage in the community where they get visibility on days that they wouldn't generally. And it's in a fun sort of an atmosphere. So that'd be something for you to also consider.
Great, thank you.
That is an absolutely great idea, because businesses in Kansas City, Missouri are notorious for killing built environment changes. I was just at a meeting last night where there was a proposal to move a parking lot about 50 feet, and in that place, so no parking would be lost, it would just be moved 50 feet. And in that place, there would be multi-use trail and greenery and public benches. And the business owners got together and killed it all, because they wanted parking as close to their door as possible. And I thought, that is so short-sighted, because if they would experience all these people right next to their doors, rather than cars right next to their doors, I'm just going to assume that their business would increase, not decrease. So,
absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's what our study suggests, for sure. And if you're going at a faster pace, like on a bike, you're less likely than you are if you're walking to stop. But they make a pretty penny.
I was wondering, this is something that we've been talking about for almost 5 years since we started the KCPA plan, is I know that there is data about those economic benefits like that. That data is available, but it's hard to aggregate it, and I end up finding something here and a snippet there. One thing I wish the national plan would do is to create these white papers or summary documents that people on the ground can just use and just say, look what the data says, as we talk to CEOs or businesses or anything like that.
I love that. That is terrific. Thank you for that. This is
In
an
terms,
example. Oh, sorry, someone was going to say something.
I was just curious in terms of like, our national plan relative to other countries. Do you guys have that kind of data and how we hold up to other countries or no?
We are doing miserably. Specific data, gosh, who was that, Robin, that just said he was there were several people who are presenting data at a conference upcoming, and I can't tell you, but yeah, we are doing very miserably. And I will say in the Midwest, in fact, just the meeting I was on just before you, I was talking with a coalition of folks from Missouri, Iowa, and Nebraska and Kansas, and all looking at work sites and health. And I said we really have a transportation issue, and that's for rural environments in particular. But when it comes to active transportation, we do a miserable job. We don't have that infrastructure. Kansas City, you're different. And you really are an anomaly in this region. We don't have that type of infrastructure. So we have very, very, very few people doing any type of active transportation in our communities, which is really problematic. And that's really the case for across the state. When you look at the data for how many do any type of the walking school buses, and oh my heavens to Betsy, we're not even close. I mean, why would, but in a lot of rural communities, it's absolutely dangerous because their rural community has a highway and they're not going to bike with their kids on the highway to get to school. It's not safe. So it's a mess. We have a few things to do. I think I've taken all of your time. I'm very sorry for that.
Okay.
But it was truly a pleasure chatting with you all. And I'm happy, I have your emails here for Natalie and for Missy, and I will communicate with both of you and send you some information. And please, anybody else, send me an email. I'm happy to connect with you, and whatever I can connect you with or provide you resources for, I would love to. So just please hit me up. I really appreciate the opportunity, everybody. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, we really appreciate it. This has been great. I think it's been great anyway.
Well, thank you.
Next time you're in Kansas City, please let us know, and we'll continue our discussion
Yeah.
on a walk.
Yes.
I like it. Game on. Game on. All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, well, we had a couple other things on the agenda, but we might just wait until the next meeting. Janine, I know I emailed you about presenting a little bit about your program, but if you would like to another time, we would welcome you to.
Oh, yeah, no, it's fine. That was helpful. That was good.
Yeah, Janine, if you're comfortable with it, we can move you to the next, our next session in November.
Sure.
Is that preferred?
Yeah, I would love to. I'm okay with learning a little bit more before presenting. So yeah, just learning a little bit more about what you guys are doing in projects feels a little like I see what you guys are doing and then how what we're doing could enhance that or
Sure. If you want to just talk maybe with Tanya Missy, you could come to our planning meeting for the next meeting and we can answer some of your questions more directly.
sounds good.
Okay, well, thanks for coming, everyone. We'll see you at our next meeting, which is November 11th.
Thank you, everyone.